Hi, my name is Dan Kate. I'm a web developer and a writer. Tonight I'm functioning as a web developer, and I've been working with WordPress for, I don't know, at least 10 years. WordPress has been around for quite a while. Started out as a blogging platform only, for people who were starting out with blogs. And as we'll see as we go through the presentation, it's really evolved into a much more robust piece of software. It powers a lot of websites as well as blogs, and it's used literally throughout the world. So let's get started, and let me just repeat what Mary had said about questions. When I do presentations, I always prefer that people, if you have a question, click the Q&A and type it in, or however it will work. No need to wait until the end, because this way I can make sure that I've answered what it is that you want to know. So let's get started here. Here's a little summary of what we're going to talk about. We'll start with what WordPress can do. I touched on it a little bit, but we'll go into a little more detail. We sort of went a little out of order, I guess. I asked what you wanted to do with WordPress, and most of you, I guess, it seemed like mostly blogging, and I guess was it the last fellow, was it Jerry, who said that has some websites in WordPress. For those who are looking to get started, you basically have two choices: Wordpress.com, which is the WordPress site where they host your blog or your website, or what's called SelfHosted, where you can take WordPress and go to any host, GoDaddy or any of those other places, and run the full version of WordPress yourself. And we'll talk a little bit about what the differences are. There are advantages and disadvantages to both of them. We'll go over that, and that could help you decide what you want to do. And if you do decide to go with WordPress.com, which is the hosted one, there are different levels. There's a free level, and there are various paid levels. As you might imagine, the paid levels give you more benefits and options than the free level. We're going to we'll show you how to set up an account on WordPress.com. Whether you use the free or paid version, you need to set up an account with them. Go through a little bit with the administration screens or the admin screens. When you get into WordPress, whatever type of account you have a whole bunch of choices on how to work with posts or pages, or how to put images in, or how to put video in, or how to get your blog to look a certain way. And we won't do a comprehensive view of it, but we will look through and just get an idea of some of the options that are available. We will create a sample post, as if this is our blog, and here's what the sample post would look like. And we'll show you how to add images to your posts. WordPress can do many things. It can do blogs, for instance, and that's how it started, as I said before. Here, this happens to be a page from my blog, and I occasionally put photos or little tidbits, or I do some work-related ones, like if there's a new internet scam going around, I might mention that for those who are keeping track of things or want to keep safe. And sometimes I just do things that I find amusing. I'm also a photographer, so sometimes I put up pictures that I've taken. But anyway, WordPress powers all of that. And some of you may have heard of this website. This New York Times is pretty much almost completely run on WordPress. So if they can do it, then pretty much anything that any of us is going to do can be handled by WordPress as well. And as WordPress likes to point out, when you go to sign up, 36% of the web is built on WordPress. So that's pretty impressive from where they started years ago. It was just a little blogging platform. And now a a lot of what you see is built on WordPress. That's helpful because it means there's a lot of people working to keep it secure. I'm sure you all know that websites can and are attacked frequently. There's always people looking to break into, and it's not just because you might be an e-commerce site or somebody wants your bank information. There's what they call bots. They will break in and use your computer to attack other computers. So there's always people looking to break into websites, and because so much attention is focused on WordPress, and because there are so many WordPress sites, it is a target for a lot of people, for hackers, but it also means that there's a lot of people working to keep it secure. So if they find that there's some hole in it somewhere or some coding error, there's a lot of people working to get it secured and issuing with a new version, which fixes the problem. So it's the up and the downside of being popular on the web. On the upside, you become more of a target. On the upside, you're so popular that you become a target and then also you get people working to defend it. So what do you want to do with WordPress? We pretty much asked that. As far as I know, most of you are blogging and some version of a website, so we can jump through that. So WordPress.com or self-hosted. I don't know if we can, I think some of you indicated that you were using a site on, you had something hosted by WordPress.com as opposed to self-hosted. Talk a little bit about the advantages and the disadvantages of each approach. WordPress.com, you can get a free or a low-cost account. Pluses and minuses to that. We'll talk a little bit about it. But if you're on a very limited budget, or you're just looking for a site that has something that you're presenting to others, but you're not necessarily looking for a big fancy site or a design or selling items or anything like that, this could be a good way to go. Another advantage is that much of the setup and what you need to do to keep WordPress safe, the things I was talking about before, which is putting upgrades when there's new versions and that kind of thing, they do all that when you host with WordPress.com. So basically you can be up and running in a short time. Anything that comes along that needs to be done for safety, they take care of it, and you can get it for free. So it's a pretty it's an inviting offer. It's an inviting platform to use, depending on what your needs are, depending on what it is that you're looking to do. There are minuses. If you have a low-cost account, you get you get fewer options in terms of what you can do in terms of the design. We'll be talking about words like themes or plugins, which are pre-established ways that WordPress lets you get something set up. Maybe you tinker with it a little bit, but it already has a photograph on the top and it has columns underneath, for example, if that's an approach you want. And you can get a lot of that pre-built, which then allows you to customize it. The less you pay for an account, the fewer options they give you as to what you're allowed to customize and what they will offer to you, which makes sense. You pay more, you get more options. That's how they get you to pay more. And depending on what you're doing, it could actually cost you more. For example, if you have an e-commerce site, you're going to sell, whether it's books that you've written or videos you've created or merchandise. If you create crafts or widgets or whatever you sell, if you use one of WordPress's e-commerce sites, you'll be paying more per month than if you hosted the site somewhere else and used WordPress's e-commerce software. You have the advantage of having them maintain things, but it could actually cost you more. So there are all kinds of factors that go into the equation. So when you do log on, these are the, as of today anyway, these are the plans that they offer. I hope you can all see that. You got the free one, which they don't list there, and then you can start from $4 a month all the way up to $45 a month. That's assuming you pay for it in yearly. Otherwise, it's a little more per month. So some of the advantages, the smaller one here, the $4 a month. Well, let me back up for a second. If you use a free plan, the address that you have for it, what people type in to get to your website, whether it's, yourwebsite.com, the free plan will say yourwebsite.wordpress.com. Anything that you're not paying for has a .wordpress before the .com. Now, for a lot of people, that's not an issue. For some, it could be. If you're a business and you want to project a certain kind of image, we're an independent professional business, you might not want to be advertising that you've got a free website going. And you might just want to have mybusiness.com. Whatever, authors, musicians, whatever, you might want to have something that just has your branding as opposed to your branding plus WordPress.com. That's an individual decision, what it's worth to you to have that. At the minimum, it's going to cost you $4 a month to get rid of the .wordpress.com. And a lot of it depends on who your audience is for your site, who you see as people you want to reach, whether you think they're going to notice it or react to it in any way. And it varies from case to case. You are limited with the $4 plan in how much storage space you get. So if you're going to put a lot of pictures or videos or audio files, you may find after a while you're going to run out of room. The more you pay per month, the more room they give you to store your files. And again, that makes sense. If you have minimal needs, you pay a minimal amount. If you have greater needs, then they want you to pay a greater amount. Access to themes. I think we touched a little bit on themes, and I will show you some of the themes once we get into the actual administration area. Themes are the pre-made templates of what your site can look like. And the more you pay per month on one of their plans, the more themes they give you access to. And then, there can be, maybe there's 15 or 20 in the low-cost plan and 100 in the higher-cost plans, or 100 or more. And if you have simple needs and you can find something that you like in the smaller version, then there's no need to pay for more expensive one. But if you want to have more options, then it will cost you more. There are also what's called plugins. WordPress uses plugins. They're like small programs. They're like little apps on your smartphone. They do certain functions and they connect into WordPress and add features that maybe aren't part of WordPress. In the less expensive programs, they give you an option of a couple of plugins to use, but you can't put any that aren't part of that. WordPress itself there's literally thousands of plugins available for all kinds of functions. You are limited in the less expensive plans to only using the ones that they let you use. And then as you get into the more expensive plans, they give you a greater variety, and they also allow you to bring in other plugins from other manufacturers that work with WordPress. SEO, you've all probably heard or seen something like that. Excuse me, just a second. SEO, search engine optimization. That is how you set up your website or your blog so that Google and other search engines can find it. If people are looking for, if you're a plumber and you set up a site and someone types in plumbers near me, you want Google to show your website as one of the options that people can look at. And a lot of that goes into how you've set up your site, how you've optimized it so that search engines can find it. And that has to do with how you write it, as well as how it's constructed, what kind of content you have on it, and the SEO tools that will help you analyze, have I done this correct to get the best results on Google? Those kinds of tools come with the more expensive packages that WordPress offers. Some of them are plugins, some of them are other functions, but if you're really looking to maximize your audience beyond people who already know you, a search engine is certainly one of the best ways to go about it. And that means constructing your site and the content in certain ways so that the search engines like Google and Bing will find it. And the last one here is the e-commerce site. Touched a little bit on that earlier. Whatever you're selling, whether it's virtual products that people download or actual products that you ship, or even, I guess you could make an appointment to go and mow someone's lawn or something like that. There's all kinds of ways to do e-commerce. And if you want to use WordPress's e-commerce, then it's that $45 a month. That includes all the software and how to process payments and handle all kinds of delivery of the content. So if you have a book that you wrote and somebody types in and pays you $10, they can download your book. All of that gets handled with the software. That's where I was saying earlier, you could get a website, you could get a WordPress, you could build a WordPress website that had these e-commerce features and pay much less than that per month. But you would have to set up a lot of it yourself or have a developer set it up for you, whereas here a lot of that gets taken care of by WordPress. So really, that's a lot of what you're paying for. You're paying for them to keep an eye on things, to keep it secure, and also to help you set it up so that you don't have to spend a lot of time or hire somebody who spends a lot of time setting it up. Do we have any questions at this point? I will take that resounding silence as no.
I was going to say, I don't see any questions. Now's the opportunity, but we can have Dan continue. So far, okay. So good.
So I'm either really clearly presenting this or people aren't paying any attention is what you're saying.
Oh, I do. Let's see. Do we have a question? Rob? Go ahead, Rob. Do you have a question?
This is many years ago, and I'm obviously way out of date, but the last time I looked at WordPress.com, they were, it was like a blog roll, an endless blog roll, and didn't offer any of this stuff. And yeah. I'm wondering, I went with a WordPress.org site, which I haven't managed in a long time, but it works. I'm just wondering, what is the difference now? Is there any difference?
Between a WordPress.com or a WordPress.org site?
Yeah, looks to me like they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, WordPress.org basically is where you download the software or it gets downloaded to your host, whether it's GoDaddy or something like that. And then once you've got it all set up, it's pretty much the same functions. You can do everything that you can do on here. You just have to, you're responsible for a lot of the setup, and you're also responsible for maintaining it. If they issue a new version of WordPress to close some security holes, you may have to go in there or have someone go in there and manually click a button that says, yes, update WordPress to the latest version. So in terms of what you can do with your website, there's really no difference between one of the, say, the premium or the business plan here and WordPress.org. There's really not much difference. It has to do with how easy is it to set up and how easy is it to maintain the WordPress software going forward. So if you've got WordPress.org site and you want to go back and learn it and bring it up to date and make sure it's secure, there's no need for you to sign up with WordPress.com.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question. Just to clarify for everyone, WordPress.org and WordPress.com, I mean, it's all WordPress. WordPress.com that we're looking at here is the hosted site. WordPress.org is where you would go to find out information about WordPress, and also where you could download the most recent version of it, and also where you can search for plugins and themes. The commercial part, which is why it's got the .com, WordPress.com is their attempt to make money off of WordPress hosting, and WordPress.org, almost everything that you can download there is free or very low cost. The cost to you comes in setting it up, either your time or paying someone else to do it for you. Okay. So self-hosted, you get more flexibility. You do ultimately, I think, get a lower monthly cost if you want that increased flexibility with the design, if you want more themes, if you want more plugins, if you really want to be able to do things without restrictions saying, oh, no, you got to pay more if you want this part. You actually will pay less to get the increased functionality, but you will also have to do more. The e-commerce part, don't want to be too repetitive, but ultimately you'll save money by doing the e-commerce self-hosted, but it requires you or the developer to do more, and that's where you have to decide what's more important to you at that point. All right, so let's say we're going to set up an account on WordPress.com. I'll go through some of this. I set up this account yesterday, and I took some screenshots of it because once you set it up, you won't get the screens here again that let you set it up. And then what we'll do after we go through some of these screenshots, I almost touched the keyboard again. Once we go through and look at some of this, we'll go into the actual admin screen, show you what it looks like, set up a sample post, and hopefully give you some idea of what you'll be looking at. So you have an email address. Hopefully your email address is not your@emailaddress.com, but that's what I put in there. And username and a password. You create your account. They'll tell you helpfully that you don't have any WordPress sites yet, so you would click on the create site to start. And you'd be looking at a screen like this. You would be, they want you up at the top here to type in a name that you're going to call this site, the domain name, in terms of the Amazon.com or whatever .com part. So I created cphlibraryclass.com. That's not an actual domain that's being used. So I don't want any trouble from the library there. But this is this was just what I used to be relevant here. And they will helpfully point out down here that you can pay all this money to get a plan and get all these names. You'll see here the free account, cphlibraryclass.wordpress.com. That's for free. If you start paying, then you can take out the WordPress.com. All right, once you've got the basic site created, you're now looking at the administrative area. And I think that's a good time for me to switch over to the actual administrative area. Everybody see the administrative area now that I switched to? Okay, good. Here's what you're looking at before you've really created anything. You've got this little notice telling you that's another thing. When you have a free site, at the very bottom of your site, it's going to say something along the lines of hosted at WordPress.com. That's just a thing that's an inducement to get you to pay so that you don't have to see that. But again, if it doesn't if you don't think your audience is going to be bothered by seeing that, then you don't need to worry about it. Here's the SEO that we talked about and the tools that are available to you if you pay for your site. So a lot of advice here. Start with a logo, share your blog or your website on any social media accounts you have. You can put up the little Twitter bird or the Facebook logo, and people can click on it on your blog and be taken to your Facebook or your Twitter or whatever other account. All kinds of ways how to get you seen on Google. So if people search for authors in Clifton Park, they'll hopefully find any authors on there, and or whatever else you can advertise. So we have a free domain, and you'll see one of the things you see when you have a free account is lots of invitations to upgrade and pay them some money, because how do you think they make a living anyway? Let's look at here the statistics. These would tell you how many people came to your site, and since I set it up yesterday and 2 people have come, both of them who would have been me, it's just showing you how many people. But as part of your account, if you want to know who's coming, how many people came, what pages did they go to, if they searched for your website, if they did a search and found you, what did they search for? So you know, that's part of search engine optimization. If they're using certain words to find you, then you want to make sure you use those words in the posts and the pages. And it just tells you a lot about the activity that took place on your site. It can be a depressing page to look at if there is no activity on your site, but hopefully once you get going and you do everything right, you will have a lot to look at. We have the free plan, and of course here they'll tell us all the other plans we can pay money for. But here's the tools that you actually are going to use to create content. They have pages, posts, media, comments, and feedback. Pages are static pages, and I'll show you what that is, I hope. Here, we have a home page, we have a blog page, we have an about page, and a contact page. They give you that as part of your plan to start off with. You don't have to keep those there. You can rename them. This is just an example. This is a theme that we were talking about. It has the menu up here, has the name of the site, has this photo and a message you can put there. If there were blog entries, they would be down here. Here's you can subscribe to a newsletter if you had one. And here's the little thing I was talking about that goes on the bottom. Create a free website or a blog at WordPress.com. You have to put some version of that on there until you pay for an account that lets you take that off. Posts. Well, let me show you what the pages look like. You saw those pages that we had in the menu. Here are those pages that allow you to go in and edit them. So we didn't look at the contact page. Let's look at that. It comes with this information. It's a form that people can fill out with the name. I'm sure you've all seen these: name, email, a message. Here's your information. Then you can submit it. If you want to go in and edit that page, you can click on that. And here you could change some of the text. If that made sense, you could do that. And then once you save those changes, they will appear on the page that people come to. It's very much like a word processor here. If you use Word or anything like that, you can click on it. You can type in whatever you want, change what's here. The one thing you need to do up here, I hope you can all see that on next to the Zoom bar. Anytime you make a change, you need to click update when you're done, or else you will lose the changes. And you generally don't want to do that. This W here gets you back to, it's telling me I've made changes. Do I want to save them? And are you sure you want to leave it? Yes, I'm not going to save it. So we're back in the main admin area.
All right, Dan, we do have a quick question.
Okay.
Can you move those menu options around if you wanted your home first, or your pages?
Pages. I believe you can. Let me see. Let's see. It's published. I'm trying to think of, see how they're sorting it by some way. I think they're sorting it by when it was created.
Okay.
It's not in alphabetical order. And it's possible at this level that I don't have the ability to change that. With the full WordPress.org and the more expensive plans, then you can move things around. You have other options for sorting it. I don't believe here. Let me just move this out of the way and see whether it does. No, I don't believe we can sort at this particular level.
But you would be able to add a new page. You see that?
Yes, right here. Add a new page. At some point, get it. It can either be a blank page. It can be one of the blog type pages. These are some of the types of pages you can use. I'll say use blank layout. Title would be our new page. Then I could publish it. Are you ready to publish it? Yes. I will publish it. Our new page is now live. So here's the new page that we just wrote, that we just made. And this is all, posts and page, people get confused with at times. Posts are generally smaller items that you're putting into a blog that fit into a page like the blog page. Whereas a page is generally more static information that is like the contact information, like about. You're not going to be updating that often, and you want that to be a whole separate page as opposed to a smaller item on a page. This is a reminder here that we actually haven't made the site public, so nobody can see this, which frankly is just as well at this point. So we'll go back to the edit screen. And
We have another question. It says, how do you access this page?
You mean to edit it?
How would the reader access it? I didn't see a link to it on top. I was just wondering.
Okay, that would actually be done in the there's a design. I think there's a way to customize the menus.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
you would add it to the menus.
Thank you.
Good question. Otherwise, nobody would find it unless you had a link to it. But there is a way to add it to the menu,
Okay.
which I will come to when we come to customize. Posts are the blog posts. So we can add a new post. How do I know it's a picture of a train? Because I uploaded one earlier so that I could make this post. I'm going to use what's called a featured image here. I'm going to set the featured image. This is the media library. This may look familiar to you. This is the background that's on the home page that we've been looking at. This is a photo that was that came with the site. These are a couple of pictures that I uploaded so that I could do this. You can click on this and say insert it into the page, or if there was nothing here but I wanted to bring up one from my computer, I could click on add new, and then I have all the photos that I have on my computer and could pick one of them and upload it. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to say insert it. And now we know that it's there. It's a picture of a train. I'm going to publish it. Yes, I want to publish it. Okay. Now if I go to the home page, the latest from the blog, which was empty before, now has the first post here. So the home page now starts with the menu and my name and this image here, all of which can be changed. And this is set up so if I had 3 blog posts, they'd be in order of the last one created. If I click anywhere on here, it takes me to the actual post. So here's a picture of a train. Presumably I would have written more about this. People can make a comment if they want to, if you allow comments on it. And then go back to the home page, and it's now back as among the list of posts. Does this make sense to everyone? Okay. We go back here. The media we looked at a little bit. Media library. It allows you to, well, you even got a friendly message welcoming us. You can put audio, video, photos, PDF documents, whatever, just by clicking add new. Please go away. Okay. Add new. You can also, if there's something you have on a website, you can add the URL of it and it will automatically get imported. You can look at all the images you have. If you have documents, videos, audio, you can sort it that way. This is very handy, especially for if you're going to have blogs or anything else. You're often going to find that images and photographs are really going to be what attract people's attention in general. So you want to always try to have at least some kind of illustration on your posts or your pages. If people make comments, we hope they keep them clean, but people make comments, you'll be able to read them all here. You can set it up, and I recommend that you do, where you moderate the comments. In other words, somebody can't just put up a comment, press post, and have it appear. You want to look at it first to make sure, first, that it's not, obscene or something, but also a lot of people put spam in contents, like links to porn websites or whatever. So you want to, there are plugins that help find that stuff, but you want to make sure that you are always moderating comments. The other side of that is if you end up with an active blog and people are commenting, legitimate comments, you want to be sure that you tend to them quickly. You'll get an email saying someone has commented on your blog. To keep the conversation going and to encourage people to keep commenting, you want to be sure that you take care of that, assuming that it's a legitimate one, approve it right away, and then keep the conversation going. Feedback we're not going to deal with now. Design, talked about customizing the menus. These are some, and the more you pay for WordPress, the more options you get here, but you mentioned the menus before. The primary menu is home, blog, about, contact, and you can see that here. Each one of these has its own, and you can add something. You can either add a new page, or you can just type in Okay, let's bring this down to the bottom. Save changes. All right, so now we have home blog contact. Well, I've got it in there twice. We'll take it out. But literally creating a new menu item is as simple as that. And removing a mistake is as simple as that. And you can see, go ahead.
It looks like from there that that's where you would be moving your pages around.
Yes. You would at least be moving them here.
Correct.
I wasn't sure whether the questioner was asking moving them in what you are looking at when you're editing them, or moving the order of them as the public sees them.
I think in the order across the top, so.
Oh, okay. Great. This literally, you can just drag this up, put it wherever you want. You can make it a sub menu of that one. We don't want it to be a sub menu. Save the changes. Come on. See, it's really easy. Trust me, it's easy. My fingers are not doing what they're supposed to do here. Oh, come on. Anyway. Yeah, that's a way to do it. Do the thing that says reorder. See, now it's here, up there. Okay. Enough of that. So you can work with the menus. The thing here that says Dan's WordPress class site, you can change that, and you'll see right away what it would look like before you make it. Until you hit Save Changes, you're just looking at the preview. You can add an icon if you have one. If I had an icon for this class, I could have it be there. Widgets are little plugins or little functions that get added. You can have audio or statistics. You can have them show up on the page. You can have a calendar. All kinds of things that you could actually put on the page for the public to see if you wanted to. Home page settings. We're using the page called Home. You could just make it a blog page if you wanted. CSS, I see you got to use a premium plan for that. CSS is a language that lets you make things look differently. So whereas this text is white, I could use CSS and say, make this text blue. But in order to get access to do things like that, you need to be paying for your site. And since we've got the free one, that's not what we have now. Here's the themes. These are the themes that you could use as part of this plan. And you see they're all basic templates. If you saw something that appealed to you and you say, oh, I like that, I'd like to put my pictures in there and my text in there, you could just get some information about it. And then you could, it's showing you what your site might look like if you were using this. And then you could say, all right, give me this theme. I want to use this theme. Activate this design because this is a free one. So just for the heck of it, automatically change your layout. Sure, why not? It's just a class anyway. All right, now here's what our site looks like. And our home page. Here's our menu items. The blog still has the old picture in it, and it also has my post. So we would need to do a bunch of work. So really what you're looking at with the themes is, do I like the overall look of this? Does my content fit this? One of you mentioned that you are a realtor, so maybe something like this is would be useful to you. But if not, there's all kinds of themes that you can use, and you can play with them. It's a good time to do it before you make your site public, so that when you change it, if somebody happens to be there, it won't be confusing. But there's a good chance you could find something close to what you want here, and then just customize it. All right, let's look at some of the tools, and then I think we're getting close to 8 o'clock. The plugins we talked about. These are some plugins that they will let you use, the SEO and a few others. A lot of them require you to pay for an account to get more, and also if you had others that you wanted to use that were not part of this collection, you would have to use a pay. This may be helpful to some of you if you have blogs. Someone mentioned Blogger, or if you have an older WordPress one or one of these other accounts that you've been using. This will help you import that content so you don't have to recreate everything from scratch. You can also export here if you wanted to put it somewhere else. Marketing and other things are how you would promote your site. And most of these others on the left here are for actually working with the site structure and keeping things up to date. So probably the most useful you'll find once you get your site set up is posts. That's where you're most likely to come to add new information, new blog posts, new whatever, perhaps a new page. You'll be answering comments and making sure that you're approving them, and taking a look at the site to make sure everything looks the way you want. Here's what it used to look like before I added the new theme. Here's what it looks like now. And I don't know, I wouldn't mind living in a place like this, but that's not to be right now. So we're closing in on 8 o'clock, Mary. Are there other questions? Are there other things that I should be covering? Where are we at now?
One of the questions is, does it work to start with a free site and then upgrade later? And would it be easy to do that?
It would be easy to upgrade. I mean, you start paying and everything that you have created is still there. The big question is whether what they offer you for free meets your needs. If it does, if you can set up a site that looks the way you want to and it functions well and you don't mind the .wordpress.com, by all means, go ahead and do that. And later on, if you decide you want it to be more intricate or you want to get rid of the WordPress, you pay $4 or $8 or whatever dollars a month, and everything you had is still there. So you won't lose anything. So it's not easy to go backwards, but it is easy to go up if you want.